right, so we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Veterans Wire. I am Dr. Kathy Cash, U.S. Army veteran, and I am so happy to be here with some amazing women who served in the military. The Veterans Wire, let me tell you a little about that. The Veterans Wire is a podcast, and we are about getting information because as veterans, we have found that we don't know what we don't know. And so with the Wire, we are giving out wellness information, we're giving out resource information, we're exchanging information so that veterans all around can continue to get the information that is vital for them to succeed when they get out of the military. Civilian life is very much different than military life. And as those who served in the military, we know that we have benefits and we know that there are resources that we have access to. But if you don't know, and if you don't know someone who knows, then you won't find out what those benefits are. So through this podcast, through this platform, we're taking advantage and making it so that veterans can find out about resources that are available to them for their benefits. So today, I am very pleased to be joined by women from the organization International Association of Minority Women of Color. And so we're going to have each one of them, I, we're going to have each one of them introduce themselves. We're going to start, we have with us Leslie Curtis Glanton, we have Donna Brock, and we have Cheryl Lynn Woodhouse. So we're going to have each one of them introduce themselves to you. We'll start with Leslie.
Good evening, Dr. Cash, if I can call you Kathy. Again, thank you so much for this invitation to be a part of your Veteran Wire. And again, I'm excited to be here with my sisters. I do want to say that we're the International American Women Military Women. So we are military retired veterans. So that's what I Am Walk is. And one of my sisters, Cheryl, will be able to go into more detail. But just to introduce myself, I want to say hello to everyone. My name is Colonel Leslie Curtis. I'm a retired Army nurse. So I retired in 2022, and I have a little bit of a unique story. I'll just tell you pretty quickly. I joined the military at 40 years old. So I was really, really late in my career. For those people that kind of think that the military isn't an option for them, I'm that person that came in really late with children. And I was a registered nurse. I came into the military as a nurse, an ICU nurse, and I deployed multiple times to Iraq and did two combat tours in Iraq. And then I was in at the Javits Center. I was there during COVID, right there in New York City at that during the pandemic. So I have quite a bit of nursing experience. I'm very thankful to be a part of I Am Walk, which I'm excited to talk about. Also excited to talk about just some of the challenges of being a minority woman in the military. It's retired, and I hope that we'll have a very rich conversation. I know you have some wonderful questions you want to ask us. So that's a little bit about myself. I do have children, grown children and grandchildren. So I'm looking forward to talking to the audience and just kind of engaging with them and telling them about a little bit more about my experience as we move through this conversation. So thank you for asking.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Donna.
Thank you, Dr. Cash, Kathy. Um, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. I am Donna Brock, retired Command Sergeant Major. I served 35 years in the Army, and when I retired, my last job that I had was as the Medical Command Sergeant Major and the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Surgeon General. Lots of experience, lots of leadership experience. And when I retired back in 2015, I decided to go ahead and do some part-time work. And so I got into coaching, and now I'm an executive leadership coach and facilitator. I also work with a program called, and I'm so sorry, a program called Together with Veterans, I'm sorry. Together with Veterans, it's a suicide prevention program where we build grassroots organizations across America in rural communities. So I am very tied to the veteran community. It's my passion. I'm also passionate about female leaders, and I continue to mentor and coach lots of female leaders and those that want to join the military. And I'm just excited to be here. Thank you so much, Kathy, for inviting us and allowing us. And let me make sure I get this right. It is I Am Walk is International Association of Military Women of Color.
We're military.
So
Okay. Okay. I
yes,
got you. I got
military.
you.
Yes.
But we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to chatting with
All
all.
right. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Cheryl.
Hi, Dr. Cash. First of all, thank you for having us, and I am glad to be a part of Iron Walk. I joined the military in 1979, came straight out of high school in the delayed entry program, and I served 26 years. Married my husband, Ernest Woodhouse, who's still with me, and we have two beautiful children who are 40 and 35 now. I'm just happy to be a part of serving all the different leadership positions, and like Donna said, empowerment is where it's at. So being a human resource, which is what I was my entire career, it allowed me to get involved into people's, let's not say their personal business, but yeah, their personal business, because you're talking their pay, their finance, the counseling, and just all of the areas that you take care of a person. You have to take care of soldier the same way. So coming up like that, you became more like a mother. So being a first sergeant for me wasn't that mean first sergeant that people suspect. It's that mother first sergeant, but you get into the butt when you need to. So for me, just being a leader, loving to empower women, and I've been doing that ever since I was a little girl. People call me bossy, but it's not really bossiness. It's just empowering and education. I got a sister who's in our organization, and she's the vice president, and she's all about education and leadership. So it's just like we blend together. You got the HR, you got the leader, and you got the mentorship. So I love being a part of Iron Walk. I would be an HR first sergeant retired my entire life, no matter whether I'm ready to get or not. And I just love helping people lead. And part of being an Iron Walk, we also, have fitness. So fitness is what I do. I'm a dancer for life. I've been doing it since I was 3, and I look forward to it, continuing to empower these women to move, and we'll continue to do it. And thank you for having us.
Well, thank you so much. So you began talking about I Am Walk. So tell us about it. How do you join the organization? Is it a national? Tell us about I Am Walk.
Well, Iron Walk started in July of 2021, and our president, Ernestine Fairclough, had this vision to start an all women's organization, and she got that vision from one of her mentors, who was an officer in the military as well. So she came up with the idea. She got in touch with all of her leader females that she felt would help lead the way, and one of them just happened to be one of her best friends, and she's our sergeant major, command sergeant major of our finance corps, Pauline Cunningham. So they got on the phone and started calling up sisters like
Mm.
us, and this is where we landed. So my sister brought me in, who in turn knew that I had the HR experience. So we just started putting things together, from the logo to putting the website, starting the Facebook page, and we developed it. And once they came up with all the mission, which is to empower and to inspire uh, people to, go for their benefits, to go and have a seat at the table, to question and to educate each other and to empower each other to be better. And to be honest, that's in any category, especially now. But we started off with the empowerment to have a seat at the table, to make sure women leaving out of this military understand their benefits from medical, to include mental health. And mental health has always been a part of it. And I think we all experience it, but we experience it in different ways. So just being able to be around these sisters for the past, 3 to 4 years, starting the
Mm.
organization off and then becoming a historian, you get to see where your growth is happening. So I'm just loving these ladies, because they are changing the International Associated Military Women of Color into a powerful organization of leaders. And I'm so in awe of Donna Brock, because she gives us 35 years of experience from the beginning to the end. Colonel Glanton, who comes with that mental health and that medical experience. So we have medical, we have administrative, AG, we have finance. We have all sources in the military to cover all bases. So I think this organization is just going to continue to boom, and it's going to be an awesome experience.
And
Okay.
Kathy,
Yes.
don't let her put any smoke clouds over. Cheryl, first sergeant there, is awesome, and she's like our little energizer motivation bunny. So I just want to say that, put that out there.
Yeah,
All right.
she
All right.
absolutely is.
So, so who is
But
the
we'll
organization
save that
open to?
question for the conference.
Who is the organization
It's
open
open.
to?
It's
And
open
how do
to
we become a part?
all women of color, all women of color, and color is every color in the rainbow, not just
Okay.
one color. And what we did is expand. After a couple of years, we expanded and opened it up to the men because they deserve to have a voice in a women's organization, not necessarily lead, because the women are leading this organization, but they are the advisors, and we also have women advisors. We have a General Pickney, who's a finance general, and General Burke, who also helped to develop this organization. General Burke to establish it, and General Pickney is just an awesome leader with us. So we stand 2 toes down with our women, but the
All
men
right.
also are part of our organization. They go from the highest rank to the lowest. We're going to continue to keep them involved because we need them. We do.
All right. Donna, you want to add something?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, and just like she said, it says women of color, but it's women of all from all areas of life is what we're really looking at. And if you are interested in being part of something larger than yourself, and you want to be part of the inspirements that we do, and the empowerment, education, and to advance, your knowledge and open your social circle too, that's what we're really looking for if you want to be a part of this group.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. And before we get off the air, we'll get information on where to apply, the contact information. We'll get all that before we get off. But continuing on with our conversation. Now, women in the military, there is still that stigma that where people don't recognize that women served. When women go to the VA, they're asked, well, are you here for your brother? Are you here for your husband? Are you here for your father? They are looked over. They're standing in line. There's a man in front of them, then the woman veteran, then there's a man behind them. The person will help the person in front, skip her, and then help the person in back. And she either speaks up or she walks away. And unfortunately, a lot of our women will walk away from receiving services and benefits because of those kinds of behaviors. So I want to ask Leslie, what are some of the challenges that you know of that women veterans are most likely to experience?
Kathy, again, thank you for asking that question. And in fact, it's a very important and rich question because it has tentacles. First, I want to say, being in the military for as long as I have and coming in older, I've been able to really muddle over and look at, some of the challenges coming in as an adult woman.
Mm-hmm.
And as was mentioned, you said stigma. Well, that's absolutely true because one of the things that women coming into the military face is the stigma of being a woman in the military because it's a predominantly male force. And women come into the military in different roles and capacities and may find themselves in different units and all where they're very much of a minority, just being a woman and
Mm-hmm.
especially a woman of color. So you may just have a handful of people. The challenge that I have seen for myself, and I think everyone has their own, and I love that Cheryl said that because every single person in our organization, you could talk about a broad topic, mental health, but everyone has a different take on it depending on what their experience was. And so what I see that some of the challenges are that retrospectively is first acceptance, being accepted and finding a supportive peer. That's some of the challenges that you may have initially, which is what Donna and both Cheryl talked about, having mentors and support, which is why I think I Am Walk is so important, because a lot of us found during the course of our career looking for people like yourself or people that you can bond with was difficult and challenging, especially as you moved up into the ranks.
Yes, yes.
um, Access to care, being a female in a dominant male force, sometimes it was difficult to be able to express what you needed in fear of that it might interfere with your ability to stay. So the stigma of, are you good enough? Are you strong enough? Can you hack it? That comes into play quite a bit. Some of the other things that come into play is, obviously family. I came in with kids. Sometimes
Hmm.
people come in single, or they may come in with their family, and finding the right support to be able to do the job. Often women have to get out of the military because they don't have enough support for their children. So there's a lot of different things that become factors in terms of challenges that women face, being married, being a female, if you're a leader, competing with others for the same role, but feeling how somehow you have to work harder for it. So I think that everyone, especially me being a direct commission officer, they call it, I came in as an officer. And so there was a whole nother stigma and things that went along with that. But those are just a few of some of the things that I am able to kind of share with you.
Okay. And what about Donna?
Yeah, I want to tag on to that. So she said a couple things that triggered a thought for me. So we are a product of society, and those things that happen in society just are magnified in the military. And now, pros and cons, because if you look at the military is pretty diverse,
Mm-hmm.
because we've, intentionally done that. But then, the thing about it is that we still only have what 14% women that are serving right now, and it's gone. I mean, it's gone up, and it may be 15. I'm not sure. I didn't really do my homework on that. But women, when they come in, one of the biggest things that I see is they have to prove themselves. I mean, like 10 times over. you
Yes.
they have no role models. Okay, and when I say role models, meaning in the higher, it's getting better, but it's still not there.
Yes.
Women, especially since women, they have opened up, and I won't get into the politics about it, but they've opened up combat arms to women, and that's where they're really having a hard time of finding a role model that looks like them in the combat arms, arena. And they have challenges with that. Um, those are two things that came to mind for me. The other thing too, women coming into the military. People look at them and say, I remember at one point while I was serving, that one of my sergeant majors, when I was a young little first sergeant, like Cheryl there, told me, he says, well, at 20 years, you're going to retire because you're going to want to raise your kids. And I was like, okay, but that's the way they think. They say most women do as much,
Mm-hmm.
just the bare minimum, meaning time,
Mm-hmm.
and then retire as soon as they can so they can finish raising their families. And of course, that's a misnomer. I mean, if you put that in someone's head, then yeah, that's going to happen. Now, we have that opportunity, we have that choice, but it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be suggested that, you might as well get out because, you got to raise your kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a couple thoughts I wanted to tag on with from Leslie and what she said, which was phenomenal. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you both. Cheryl, anything you want to weigh in on?
I'll tag on being a
Mhm.
long life recruiting and retention. Some of the challenges I still see, especially for the women, is communication. Just being
Mhm.
able to speak up and not hide behind what's being said you can or cannot do. So
Mhm.
for me, transparency. And I keep telling the women all the way up to the day I left, just don't be afraid to go and speak up. It don't matter who that person is, what their rank structure is. We all bleed the same blood. So go and speak to them and communicate. And I think leaving the command now and them coming up to me saying, we're going to miss you, and crying. I already know what them tears and crying is, because they don't want to lose that, what Donna was saying, that mentorship. But we're not going
Yeah.
nowhere. We still here, got fun of them. Matter of fact, I'm
Hmm.
gonna probably call them even more so, because most of them will probably push to, want to follow in your footsteps and get out, but don't get out. Stay the course. Communicate, be transparent, and you got to have diversity inside of these organizations. Like she was saying, the numbers, we don't know the percentage, but just knowing that it's not enough of us that look like us serving in more leadership positions, having their own
Hmm.
faith in themselves. Even if they screw up
Hmm.
and mess up so you can get up and step up. Period.
And keep going. There you go. I love it. I love it. Yeah, because in as you said that, um, there were few role models, few people to look up to years ago. It is getting better. It is getting
Hmm.
better. When I was in a brigade mess hall with 100 cooks, six women, no
Hmm.
women in leadership. There were no women in leadership in my battalion or my brigade. And it's like, okay. And we were in, as they told us, this man's army. So we were expected to, do everything we did. And we did what we were supposed to do. But it was just had there been women to mentor, women to say, okay, do this, do that. I think things might have been easier for a lot of women that came through during my time. Um,
Yeah.
but being in the
Yeah.
service,
Kathy,
uh-huh.
no, no,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, finish, please.
Oh, I was going to do a new question. Donna,
Oh, I
you have
just
something?
wanted to say something really quickly on that. That's
Uh-huh.
really important because I want the audience to know something.
Mm-hmm.
So, from my perspective, the military was the best decision I have ever made as an adult, and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't trade it. So, I want to be clear that I make that. Now, did it take me out of my comfort zone? Absolutely. Did it
Hmm.
make me the person that I am today? Without question. So I am excited because the one thing I'm learning about all these women, the women that I've met in I Am Walk, and just women that have survived and gone through the military, these are resilient,
Yes.
strong women.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
because of what we all just said, even though we didn't have the ideal situation, we were in there because something was bigger that we knew that we needed to stay, we needed to fight, and we did. So now that we've trailblazed the path in our given areas, we can retrospectively look back and tell people you can do this.
Yes.
And that is the sense of hope. And I smile when people say, I said, I was 40 and came in. I know you're going to be okay. So now I can look back, but it not only changed my life, it literally changed my entire family's life. So I'm proud that I made that accomplishment. And it made me resilient for the world that we're in today. So
Yes.
there's not
I
too much
agree.
you can throw by me that's going to move me too much. So I am thankful that the military made it possible for me to be a strong survivor in the world. So I just wanted to make sure I help
Okay.
people
Yeah.
not to be afraid of the military, but go in
Right.
and embrace it. It's going to be different, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It can be very good for you.
Yes. A lot of different people have a lot of different experiences. And
Yes.
for me, it was a learning experience. And,
Hmm.
Yes.
and it was a learning experience that I learned. It was a learning experience years later.
Exactly.
Donna, you,
I was going to add, we had talked about role models, and it's very important to have some female role models. But I will say that we've had some phenomenal male role models too. I mean,
yeah.
they're there now, and we've had some great ones, and we've had some bad ones. And when I say bad ones, it's usually the ones who don't want to deal with female stuff, you know, and they
Mhm.
want to push them off to someone else that can handle that business because they're uncomfortable. It's not in their comfort zone. So but I just wanted to put in a plug for our phenomenal male leadership, because it is out there, it's still out there, and we just need more of us, more females in those leadership roles.
Yes.
So, to really mix it up. But
Yes,
that's the only thing I was going
definitely.
to add.
Definitely.
If I
Thank
could
you.
just drop an ad in there, I'm so glad you
Uh-huh.
said that, Doc. Because Dr. Cash, my mentor, is right here in this organization. Command Sergeant Major Dr. George Monk. He's our bylaws chair, and he was the mentor who made me go be a. He didn't make me go be a first sergeant, but he told me that I need to go and do that and leave the NCO Academy and go over there and do what he know I can do. And for him, I'm so grateful. So when we was bringing men in, him, and Command Sergeant Major Ashford, who's like my AG daddy, he's also in our organization. You got to bring in your mentor because your mentor is going to keep you straight. So if you go off the bend, you know what I mean. They know how to bring you.
Yes.
Hmm.
They know how to
Yes,
bring
definitely. Definitely. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, when you're in, you have a lot of challenges as a woman. And then when you come out as a veteran, I spoke about not being recognized as a veteran, but are you aware of any other things that we can share that are challenges with the woman veteran when she comes out and tries to access services? And that's for anyone.
I could start on that. Well, when you're talking about access services, I think that most women, and you worked in the VA, most women don't really realize what is out there. And the information is not readily apparent. So you
Hmm.
have to go get the information. But, a lot of, one of the things about challenges for women when they get out is we have a higher rate of unemployment, higher rate, and it's starting to be a higher rate of homelessness
Yeah.
too. And uh, some of the things that women, and I don't want to put women in, everybody in a bubble, but we have some of our sisters in the military have experienced trauma, military sexual trauma, sexual assault, um, divorce, being single parents, as Leslie had mentioned before.
Hmm.
There's a more of a predominance of single women in the military. We have our own medical issues. That's we could have a whole podcast on that, of course. And it seems that there's a little bit more poverty that happens with our women. And we think most of them think that there's a lack of resources and access to those resources. But I have to tell you, and that's why it's so important, the groups that like I Am Walk, these groups that we have out there, there's so many veteran groups out there that have information. What's so important is who do you go to find out where the resources are? Who do you go to find out, get into the VA, register with the VA? Some women don't realize that they have, access to the VA because,
Right.
back in the day, and I mean, it still may be now, just because I serve 3 or 4 years um, means that I'm not a veteran. And people think that you have to like retire to be a
Yeah.
veteran. And that is not the case. You serve, you serve in the military, and you come out with an honorable discharge. You are a veteran.
Thank you for
Period.
sharing that. Thank you for saying that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I
One.
just want to. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Leslie. Yes.
No, I apologize. Please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I'm done.
I just want to clarify something. This is my own personal perspective as a leader myself, and leader is your level of influence. That's the first thing.
Okay.
But I think that as I'm talking about the Army, we have not done a good job overall as there's something called onboarding, bringing people on, and then as well as how you out process. So I think from the entry point of a person coming into the military, a person interested in the military should be there should be engagement at every level from the recruitment to what they're going in for, and then as they're processed through schooling. So it should be a continuum of communication and facilitation, be it if you're going to do 20 years or you do time served. So time served is the amount of time that you sign a contract for, and that's how, what, 4 years, whatever it is, or if you stay and do 20 years. that's a full veteran getting benefits. You can't usually get that unless you're medically boarded out for some trauma or something.
Mhm.
That's a different story. But I think that is important for the individual. Number one, two, and Cheryl said, raise your hand and ask questions and find out, because really all of the programs are there, but we don't do a good job of pointing as leaders. Part of the onboarding is where, you have to go to certain things are required by the government that you do to when you're leaving the military, that how it's facilitated and how well it's executed, that could be a systemic internal problem. But there should be no one getting out of the military that doesn't know that they have to go through these different programs, how to get a job, how to get fill out a resume. So the preparation and the participation is up to the soldier, but the programs are there, and the leadership is responsible to make sure that their soldiers are getting access and being directed to the care that they need. So if it's a problem, it's because of the failed leadership in supporting the soldiers, and the soldiers being responsible for what they need before they get out of the military. So it's a two-way street, but it should be a connection all the way, like a handoff.
Mhm.
One of the
Okay.
one of the other challenges that I didn't mention was the lack of adequate daycare. So a lot of women will get out of the military because the daycare is expensive, or they can't, they get sick, the kid gets sick, they don't have other, plan for two, three, and four, just in case they need to, make a call to somebody.
Right.
And that extends outside of the military too. So and I was thinking about this the other day, when I was in the military, oh man, I had to have my family care plan. I had, if I had to deploy, I had to take my children, stay with someone, family or whoever. And then, I had to take care of them and make sure that they were cared for while I was working. And I didn't have anybody to help me because I was moving all over the place, no family. So I had to rely on friends or strangers that, I interviewed and things. And
Mhm.
now that I'm out, even my daughter, I'm helping my daughter with daycare because she's an educator, and and I help her with the kids and stuff. And I didn't have that. Now think about all the women out there that have nobody to help them. And so that's another issue. That's another big challenge. And I'm sorry, I think Cheryl wanted to tag in.
Yeah, she's one of y'all hit a keynote that made sense. Well, both of you guys made great keynotes. Colonel Blanton, you just made a comment about level two, stopping at the soldier level. No, no, it don't stop there. They got to keep going, because military people go right into the civilian job, and now they're Department of Defense employees, and they have a responsibility to take care of Department of Defense employees, kind of sort of like they do the soldiers. So these are also veterans. These are also members of International Association of Military Women of Color. So going back to the transparency, you still have to continue the onboarding process. Everybody was coming to me for the retirement process. This my first time retiring. And because I don't know, I went into research, but the good thing is,
Mhm.
and I got to give it to the military, they made it, I mean, the federal government, they made it possible for the questions when you submit for retirement to be so much smoother. It's only one thing on the screen, you can't go wrong. But back then in other people's days, with
It
these
wasn't.
long forms, if you miss one thing, they send the whole packet back. And so people are baffled. But where we fail, even as Department of Defense employees, is telling the civilians under us as leaders to go over the ACS. Army Community Service still offer the same programs they offer the soldier to us. I'm getting my
Right.
TSP. I'm building my money up as a civilian, and I
Yes.
got an appointment December the 3rd. So that's what we
Mhm.
share with I Am Walk. Let people know about their benefits, about their financial, about their mental health, and engulf all of us to use our resources, even our personal resources, to bring it into a part of I Am Walk to help our sisters out.
And I
Uh,
gotta say, Cheryl hit something, and then I'm gonna be done with that real quick, Kathy.
you're good.
To be fair, I came in 2021, but there are many from I Am Walk that have been in, and I retired in 2022. But early on, we have some General Pinckney and other different people that did not have to be, let's be real, and Cheryl said it, discrimination, okay, and gender of females, and in terms of for color, did not share appropriate information, and people were not told or given information, or was not easily accessible or easily to complete, and a lot of people got frustrated, especially people from Agent Orange, World War II, and then coming back
Hmm.
to Desert Storm, and they did not know how to get the services and the things that they needed. So having these interconnected organizations to help support um, groups that are minorities, where if they don't get, if they don't have readily having that information shared with them. And unfortunately, Donna said it, we're still in the world, and there's pockets of information that aren't always available to everyone. So you kind of have to be networking and figuring out what's going on. But
Yes.
that is a very good point that Donna Cheryl made, that it's, even though I got out in 2022, it may have been better. And I had to work hard when I was retiring. I was horrified when I was out processing, but I was executing my own way. But I'm thinking, what if this is a specialist or something? I'm fighting for what I need. It should not be that way. They were there, but there was gaps. There was no way to connect people to the services. So that is, I think, the point that Cheryl was making. And I wanted to make sure I clarified that, because that's absolutely true.
Yes, and not only racial biases, but gender biases.
Gender
Many
biases for
things that
sure.
women would not get. And because of that, women would just back off and say, well, I'm not even going to deal with it. So we have all of these things that are coming up that will impede the progress of a veteran reintegrating into society. So when we look
Yes.
at, Donna mentioned it, the unemployment rates and the homelessness. Why do you think that those rates are higher for women versus men? We've mentioned some of the things, but any particular things that you can point out that would be the cause of women having more challenges with that than the men?
I think all of those things. I mean, it's a conglomeration of, many things that we talked about, when we talk about daycare, when we talk about the trauma, coming out and what it does to you mentally, and how much time that takes for you just to work through that, and much less hold a job. There's women out there that have, the single parent thing. That's another thing. And then, of course, their lack of access. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I saw somebody dropped off. Their lack of access to, the resources,
Mm-hmm.
because they may or may not be there. And I think a lot of it does have to do with where they decide to live, too. In different pockets of the world, there's assistance and there's help out there, but you have to know who to go to and who
Yeah.
to trust. I
Yes.
think that a lot of veterans, we get into this, we get lonely. There's loneliness and despair that happens, and we kind of stay to ourselves. And it kind of goes back to one question or one statement that you made, Kathy, in the beginning, talking about women veterans that, and I think you made it, but you know, we don't even know who's a veteran. Because
Yeah.
you can go out in the street and you can pick out the guys. I mean, you can pick them out because they wear their hats and they dress down. They got all their veteran stuff, and they have that proud service. But for some reason, we don't do that. And I don't know if it's a fashion statement thing or what it is, but we don't do, I mean, I don't even do that. I do have t-shirts and stuff. I just don't do the hat thing. I do have
Hmm.
t-shirts that I wear appropriate, some stuff. And, I had, so this is a real quick story. I went to Lowe's, and I'm going to put a plug in for Quilts of Valor. Um, I went to Lowe's and I had an issue with checking out. And I told the guy, hey, it won't take my military, thing. And these ladies were listening, and he was helping me out and everything. And then as I was leaving, they were stalking me as I was walking out, and they were like, "Hey, are you a veteran?" And they're, "Oh, thank you for your service, blah 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 blah." And they said, "We would like to give you a quilt." They said, did you deploy? Did you go to war?" And of course, I did. I did. Um, I am a war veteran, if you will. And they wanted to give me a quilt. And I was just downplaying them and downplaying them. And I told them, I said, no, 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 no. I said, I no, And she gave me her card, and she would not let me leave until I told her I would call her or email her. And I did. And what I really thought about, I thought about it later, look at me. I was trying to downplay that. So just imagine how many women veterans are out there that don't identify
Yes.
as a woman veteran. And then, so that would even, they probably have all kinds of resources that they can access, but they don't, because they don't really, they kind of keep to themselves. And I know
Yes.
that was a long answer, but I just had to get that off my chest, because
Oh,
we
that's
really do need to let people know that we are veterans and not
yes.
our husband or
Yes.
well, my brothers are too, but
But yeah, but sometimes what happens is when we wear the jacket or even the hat, the t-shirt, and someone who um, is not being very friendly, they'll walk up to us and say, "You shouldn't be wearing your husband's stuff because you're not a veteran." And then we have to, yes, we are. Yes, I am. There are the stories that I hear about the women who park. You mentioned Lowe's, that they have
hmm
the veterans parking space, and how
hmm
when the woman got out of her vehicle, she was harassed because people said, "You're only supposed to use that space if your husband's in the car." Then the woman said, "Why? Because my husband's not the veteran, I'm the veteran." So we talk about, what does a veteran look like? What does a woman veteran look like? And we don't walk around with our weapons. We don't walk around in fatigues. We don't walk around with all of our gear on. So what does a woman veteran look like? And we pointed out, looks like you, looks like you, looks like you. If we're a woman veteran, if you are a woman veteran, then that's what you look like. And as you said, so many women just will downplay the fact that they served, that they are veteran. They will not even go to get resources. A lot of women won't even go to the VA because they don't like the way they've been treated. And then it
hmm
goes back to, well, that's when you speak up and you say something about it. Because if nobody says that somebody's doing something wrong, then everybody will think that everything is going just well and they don't want to come. So we have to change that narrative. That's part of our responsibility. We were
yeah,
talking earlier about when you're out processing, it's part of our responsibility as a veteran to educate ourselves on what we are eligible for, what we can get, what we need to do, how we need to do what we need to do, because the benefits are out there and they're not going to fall into our laps all the time. But we have to raise that flag just like the men do. We have to show up in line just like the men do and
yeah.
accept the fact that we are veterans.
You
You know,
know, I
Kathy, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going
Um,
to add one thing. Um, oh, now I just lost it. Go ahead, Leslie.
I'm sorry. Uh, Kathy, I like what you said, and I think we absolutely, I mean, for whatever reasons, and we can all probably think of reasons why we may not have said something or did something retrospectively, but that's not okay anymore into the future, because we're literally looking at. I know I'm up there, but we're all mature women. We're looking at 2 or 3 generations, so
Hmm.
we have the responsibility to take pride in our experience. And I think that age, and even if we had bad experiences, which we've all can tell you some, but we did serve. We
Yes.
Mhm.
served our country, and
Yes.
nobody can take that from you. Whatever
Yeah.
time you did, 4 years, if you did more than 24 months or whatever it was, or whatever
Mm.
amount of time, you did that time
You did
and you
it.
were
Yep.
willing to sacrifice for your country. And we should be proud to say it. and when we should be proud that, I wear my little veteran hat or something sometimes, and I even say, do you do veteran discount, whatever it is, because I did. Listen, I almost died a couple times. Bombs dropped right there in a motor pool, and it didn't go off. So that was the 31st cash 2004. So you wouldn't be
Mm.
talking to me. Anybody knows what a motor pool is. If a bomb drops in a motor pool, the
Yes.
entire area is wiped out. That was but the grace of God. So we survived that. The 31st cash 2004. So you change your perspective. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud that I was there, especially being on the medical end. So we all have seen combat and different things, and we've seen. I was talking to one of the sisters at Iron Walk, and she had friends at the Pentagon when 9/11 happened. That's where she was, and she lost a lot of friends. So we all have done and sacrifice and families, marriages, all different kind of things. And I refuse to let anybody make me feel like that didn't matter, because we spend most of our lives as women feeling like what we didn't matter. Even when we reach ranks, like how did you, I remember, and I'll share this really quickly. When I was coming up, I was in COVID. We all, if anybody saw that on TV, all those buses going into New York, that was us.
Hmm.
And we led that coming in when the world needed us. The military was activated. That's incredible. We didn't know what we was going into. And I was coming up for promotion, and somebody asked me, my peers, men, said, how did you get on the promotion list? How dare somebody say that? The same way you did, through hard work, education. But for somehow I had a Cracker Jack promotion. How did you must have been a EEO type, and I was thinking to myself, of course I didn't engage with that. But that's the society that we live in. But I refuse. I said, number one, I'm sorry you didn't make promotion, but I earned it just like everyone else that's on that list. So we sometimes allow people to put us in a box, and somehow
Mhm.
we need to start breaking that seal and like be
Yeah.
proud of what we've accomplished, no matter what big or little we think it is. You did it, and it's something you should be proud about.
Yeah. And
Yes.
and going back to your question, so one of the big things, and I saw a note, the needs for women are different. So if you really think about it, you know, everything is really based on men. Even our flak vests that
Yes.
we used to
Yeah.
wear,
Yeah.
were for men, and they're not. I mean, now they're trying to make new ones that fit, for women now, but you think about it, everything is really based around, our brethren, our brothers at arms, and when they get out, and women, we need to have, the VA to increase their
Awareness.
women's programs and everything, and the awareness. But the one thing that I have forgot before was, how they say it takes a village to raise a child.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's there's a need throughout communities across America to really get together, build grassroots organizations that will help our women veterans, and get the women veterans out so they can help them and talk to them. And if they're homeless or if they can't get a job, what are we doing to help our women veterans? Because it's a growing number, and
Yes.
it's growing. It's definitely growing.
Yes. Yes. And one of the things when we talk about women becoming employed in the civilian workforce, you mentioned childcare.
Yes.
Women won't. You're making the money you make is just enough to pay for your child care. So you haven't bought anything else. You haven't paid rent. You hadn't bought food, but you made sure your baby's taken care of. But you need
Mhm.
some other things. So there are several organizations in Los Angeles that are picking up that baton to
Mm.
work with the women veterans and give funding for childcare, because the Los
Good.
Angeles Veteran Collaborative, we get together once a month and we talk about the barriers and the issues that are going on with all of our veterans. And that was definitely one of them with the women veterans, the child care, the need for child care, and then also the
Hmm.
homelessness. Because here in LA, we have the largest, I believe, the largest veteran population. And if you are, I've had women being a peer specialist, people call me because they're looking for things. I have women who will come to me. Me and my children, I have 3 children. I have a boy and 2 girls. We're living in our car. Can you help us? So I lead them to the people who are supposed to get them housing, and either they have to get separated because the boy is a little older than the teenager, so the boy
Mm,
gets separated, or there's no place to put them all together.
mm,
And so what does the woman do? She said, "We just gonna go back and sleep in the car until our voucher comes through, until we find a place that we can do."
yep.
And it's not so much that um, I want to fault them. You can't fault them because the mother is looking out for the safety of her children. And if we're going to be separated, that's the first problem. But then if you're not
Right.
going to be able to help me, because I can't get housed until I get a job, and I can't get a job until, all of these blocks, all these building blocks, and the barriers that happen. Some of them are simply because I am a woman veteran. So we have to continue to speak up about these things and make the world aware, because there are organizations that say, well, we'll help, but we don't know what to do. And we don't need everybody giving out turkeys. We need some people to take some of that turkey money and do something else with it.
Hmm.
So it's just becoming aware of what the challenges are that women veterans are facing. Um, when we look at the number of women in the military, why do you think it's coming, the numbers are increasing, but why do you believe it's so low now? It's not increasing as fast as the men's enlistment is increasing. What do you think about any ideas on why women are not joining as fast as men?
Actually, I really do think those numbers are going to be a little bit opposite. And in a study that I'm doing actually on women, I believe it's the 30, 35 or 40, 45. The number of women that are joining are actually larger, especially enlisted, because of the need of having security for your family. I joined myself needing security for my family.
Hmm.
Having you got afford, you're gonna have a job for 4 years at least,
At
you
least.
know, okay. And so you're gonna have a roof over your head or something like that. I think the challenge is where I think some of the mistakes are. And I was interviewing and talking to a sister that said, like, she came in and she was in a manual, like I think she was hanging wires or something. I think helping people get into something where they can develop a specific skill that's going to help them during the course in the military, so that when they get out, if you're doing something that's not marketable outside of the military, this can create problems with employment
Hmm.
when you're getting out. Even though you did time served in the military, is it transferable to the civilian sector? So I think even if you're coming for 4 years, the goal should be, and I'm hoping the model for the military, and I don't know what it's going to be in the future, is to help prepare people to get out when they're getting out, not just being in, so
Hmm.
that they can continue to. We haven't done a good job of helping people. And I think Cheryl mentioned it, or Donna, where she said her mentor told her, you need to take this, you need to go on and get this, to kind of help build up her experience and her leadership that's transferable outside of the military. It's not good enough just to say, oh, I was in the military. Well, what did you do? No, and then does it apply to the private sector? So this is one of the gaps still that's huge. Even though more people are going in, they're not being able to either transfer into areas or being developed to be in areas, because there's such a shortage. You're keeping them right where you want them to be, the motor
Hmm.
pool or whatever, but it's not helping them when they get out.
Yeah. Donna?
I and I hate to even broach this subject, but I think that part of the reason that there's a lower percentage of women that are enlisting in the military is because of their parents. You know, they're telling them
Mm.
not to go. Um, they see, Vanessa Gillen, that whole story about her. They see the sexual or the military sexual trauma
Hmm.
numbers and sexual assaults and things like that. And I mean, I think of, college, and, the crazy stuff that happens there much, but when it's in the military, it just seems like it just makes it worse. Um, and society right now is looking down at their daughters joining. I mean, if there was ever a draft, which I don't think that would ever happen again. Well, I never say never, but oh, there would be an uproar if they did not draft women. And I
Mhm.
can tell you, I know that society would not put up with that.
Mhm.
I feel society would not put up with that. But and probably Cheryl can talk about it, but from the recruiting perspective, a lot of parents, it's, you know, they have a say, if you will, um, with their children and the women. So I don't know if Cheryl, if you have any comments on that or
Yes.
otherwise.
Can you all see me?
Yes, we can see you and
Yes.
hear you.
Oh, okay. It's so I'm
Okay.
still backstage. Okay. But yeah, in recruiting, it starts at the high school. So let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Hmm.
When I
Hmm.
worked in recruiting command and we go visit the kids and have the little educational type stuff and we have our army booth, a lot of the women are afraid to come in because the key word Donna just said, the parents. So sometimes the parents already experience just what we've been talking about, not taking care of us, not being able to communicate because of who we are or what we say. And so they may convince their kids. And if you have a parent like us that convinced them to go in, we gonna give them. When I used to go there, I give them the reasons why, and it's 4 letters: STEM, scientific. You know what I'm saying? Education, okay? Because these kids got a broad range of everything. But the women
Yeah.
I go talk to, I use my dance abilities. The cheerleaders, the DD4L dance team, the athletic people, to include the males, because that whole sports arena make up a big portion of your school. So you grab them up and let them know you can still dance in the Army. You can come up and be in charge of the fashion shows. You could be the one. You can continue to do that. You could join the All Army volleyball team, the All Army basketball, the weightlifting team like I was on. So you just come in and make your life just like you would if you go outside and join the rec center. Army has the same thing. So what I'm just trying to say, it starts at the beginning level, and for recruiting, we start when they're freshmen. You get them and you keep them in the program sophomore, junior, and you work with them. By the time they become a senior, they ready to take off. And those are the young ladies I love to go talk to because they done made a decision. Another problem I find, a lot of them just don't know what they want to do. When I
Mhm.
ask them, I tell them start off thin in HR. If you like blood and guts, go to medical. You know what I mean? But don't start off, that's pretty much a lot of people say. They either want to be a doctor or lawyer. And lawyer, I would tell a lot of them, if you have an experienced lawyer, go into HR first. Learn the administrative part of the military, how we process forms before you jump right into legal and have to do a whole bunch of forms. So it just depends on what you've done. And I am their walking story. So I'm able to explain that to them. And even being in Iron Walk, I always got to bring it back to Iron Walk. We all have our different ways of doing business, but a lot of times as we're trying to bring in younger I am WAP members, sometimes you could reflect them off of what you do and who you are. Who don't love to dance? Who ain't hyped up? So you got to get people where their mental health and their ADHD need to come down. That's where I come in. I keep it active for them. So, same thing with the soldiers. I get out there and motivate them, and they feel I'm coming in. Are you gonna be my recruiter? No, unfortunately, I work in public affairs, but I will get you the best recruiter. So I already had recruiters locked on the ones
Mhm.
that were gonna put in the people that I brought on board. And the general awarded me $100 for them. So it
Uh,
don't hurt for veterans to still recruit.
okay. So
So,
so
Kathy, I
how do you
did.
deal with the I'm sorry.
No,
Let
Kathy,
me
I
ask her.
did. No,
Mhm.
no, I'm so sorry. I did want to mention also, because we're a lot of us are coming from the Army, but
Uh-huh.
you have to consider the difference. When we're talking about the military, we can't speak inclusive of everyone
Right.
because the Air Force numbers for women is higher.
Yeah.
because like in the 23 percentage. So now the numbers across the board are always going to be low in the 20s for women, but
Hmm.
they're higher in the Air Force for women wanting to join in the Air Force, and they're around the 17-ish or so for women in the Army. And then, of course, if you get in the Navy and the Marines, 9%, it gets even lower. So some of it's relative to the services that support women in their services. The Air Force
Hmm.
seems to be more female friendly in terms of people wanting women to join the Air Force more if you can. They're a little bit more stringent, but for those that qualify, a lot of women tend to go into the Air Force. Then the Army is a little bit different. And then, of course, the Navy, the numbers for the Marines, of course, are the lowest of everyone because you already know what you're going to be doing combat pretty much.
All the time.
But I
Yes.
do think that um, we're not speaking inclusively of all the military, but mainly our experience of what that looks like in the Army for us in terms of what we have seen.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good point. Good point,
Yes.
Leslie.
Hmm.
Yes, because just like across the board, there are women who've had great experiences in their branch of
Hmm.
service, and then there are
Yeah,
women who've had terrible experiences in their
experience.
branch of service, and then all the way, all across the spectrum. So that's one of the beauties of being able to share your story, because when
Hmm.
you share your story, someone else shares their story, and then whoever you're sharing it with gets to compare and contrast, if you will, and
Right,
just to pick
exactly.
out the things, what worked, what didn't work, and then even ask questions. What could you have done different, or what, in hindsight, what would you have done, or would you have gone into a different branch, or a lot of questions will come up when they begin to hear our stories. But that is the important thing. They have to hear our stories. We have to use our platforms. We have to use our organizations to tell our stories, because our stories are different than the men's stories,
Right.
and then we're different from each other. So we have to get that cross section, because we want to continue to encourage people to join the military as they desire. But then also, you're looking on the other side, are you going to learn a skill that will allow you to work in the military, to work in the private sector when you come out? Or what are your plans? What are your goals? And that goes back to the mentoring and the sharing, so that those who are on this track, that are traveling on this road, they know that they're not there by themselves. So that is awesome. So I just love what you ladies are sharing on today. Um, what I
The
want to,
funny thing, Kathy, real
uh-huh.
quick, is everybody knows, like, if you ask any of us what service should a woman go in, most of us would probably say the Air Force. But if you do the research in terms of women, if you Google and do the research, the Air Force actually has the highest support for women, education and training for females. And if you probably look at their numbers in terms of success of women coming out, I'm sure it's probably vastly different than some of the other services. So it's important for people to do the research and see. It doesn't
Yes.
make any one better than the other. I just think the opportunities are different.
Hmm.
Depending on what you're looking for. Me, I love my Army because that's what I chose. But I do recognize that there are stark differences, which is what we're all talking about.
Yes, yes. And whatever branch of service you decide to go into, you make the best
Yeah,
out. And then
exactly.
if that one doesn't work, you transfer to another one. And if
There you
that one doesn't
go.
work, you transfer to another one. But as
Just
long
stay
as
in there,
you,
bro.
as long as you keep moving forward, keep moving
That's
forward.
right.
Um, what about recognition? What about awards and recognition in the
Mm.
military? We know
Where do
that.
we start? Where do we
Looking at,
start?
say it again.
Mhm. I
I
said,
didn't hear
where
you.
do we start?
Yeah,
Go with
yes.
the declaration. Yes.
So
Mm.
let's start with one of the highest. Let's start with the Purple Heart. Let's start with the Purple
Mm.
Heart. Now that women are in combat, um, Donna, what can you share about the Purple Heart Award, in
Well,
terms of women and in general?
well, I know that we just happen to have, and she's not on this podcast, but we happen to have as part of our one of our members is a Purple Heart awardee, Sergeant Major Edmonds. And I tell you, I wish she was here because she would tell her story on how she received it. Um, the thing about the Purple Heart, a lot of people think that, mostly combat arms guys go out there and they, get wounded. And then, of course, the Purple Heart, you get that if you're wounded in combat. But there is, and they think it's only for combat arms, but let me tell you, there's no delineation of where the war is. Okay, if you're in the area, you're in a war zone. And so we not you don't see as many support personnel getting the Purple Heart because of the fact that they don't, they're not engaged, in combat, if you will, but they are supporting the combat arms folks. So that's the only thing I could really tell you. I know there's not a high number of women that get them, but there are women that do get the award for the Purple Heart, which it's phenomenal that we have one of our own that is actually, and she's actually still on active duty.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Because from the
Yeah.
stats that I had, there's been over 1.8 million Purple Heart medals awarded to service members since the award was first created in 1782. But of that 1.8 million, only about 500 are women.
Yeah. And that goes back to the combat support because mostly, and think about it, because combat arms is just, I mean, in the last 10 years, just kind of bringing women into combat arms where they're actually engaged in combat.
Hmm.
From the army perspective. Now I have to say, see, Leslie got me thinking in my brain from the army
From the
perspective.
Army perspective.
Yes, but again, the majority of women are in support roles, which, even though there is no front line as we used to call it, and
Hmm.
now it's a war zone. um, the majority of the women are in support roles, and that for me, that makes sense that you wouldn't see as many Purple Hearts awarded to women. But I'm just that makes sense to me. So when I read those numbers that they're talking about, it makes sense. But I can tell you one thing: as women start, coming in, getting into combat arms, and again, I will get into the political thing because I heard that they're trying to stop that. And there are some folks that still are very much against women in combat. I mean, in those roles. But see, the
Yes.
thing is they don't realize women have been in combat since, the army was started.
Revolutionary War before,
Uh,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
and you know what,
Shows where
Kathy,
to turn.
Donna is making a really good point. Me being a nurse, Florence Nightingale. So again, a cache, which is the military hospital, is in a combat area. We're not in the fob of it, meaning that we have to be back some, but not so far that the injured can't come to us.
Right.
So we are in, and have been, especially in Iraq, in lines of fire. Like I said, a bomb, missiles were going over our heads and landed in our motor pool. That was the hospital. So, and they have
Mhm.
combat action badges and things of that sort. So we didn't want that to happen, but you can very easily, even as a medical professional, you are in the mix of it and dealing with it, because we had, people that came into our area and blew up within our little area, and soldiers were, unfortunately, a lot of people were killed. So you are not by fault. You don't have to be the person running with the machine gun, but you could be the person, like Donna said, supporting in different roles:
Hmm.
medical,
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
logistics. I mean, they're traveling all in convoys going into some of the most
Yes.
austere conditions. I wouldn't want to be in a convoy trying to take munition somewhere where you can easily be a target. So
Yes.
those are real positions, and we know of various incidents, and now a lot of people are doing that in those logistical positions where people are relying on them for supplies, mainly hospitals, but then the soldiers out there in the fields for ammunition or whatever they needed. So those are valid, important, and necessary. You can't have a war without having all that support. If you don't have a hospital, where are you going to take everybody? If you don't
Right,
have
Right.
right.
logistics,
You
where
need the
how are they
support.
going to do it? So, or even dietary, how are we
Yeah.
going to eat? We got
Yes.
and so there's a lot of people that, and even HR, because you got to move the people out of theater to get them somewhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot of logistical support and valuable roles. There's none more important than anyone else. It's a big, it's all of us working together for every soldier. So that's very important to understand.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Cheryl?
Yeah, and just like she just said, HR, we were responsible for making sure the different people that may have got killed or blown up, we had to replace those MOSs. So you had to know the
Mhm.
MOSs and know which ones go for what areas, and that was a constant while the war was going on. We were constantly sending those replacement MOSs. So yeah, just having skilled
Mhm.
people and using your senior leaders who are already out there on the field. So it was a challenge
Wow,
using for HR.
definitely. All the support is just as important as those with boots on the ground
Absolutely.
because
Mhm.
you
Without
can't
us,
do
they
one
can't
without the
maneuver.
other.
That's exactly right.
Yes, you can't do one without the other. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
as we talk about the number of women who served and who continue to serve and how to bring recognition to them, it again goes back to our storytelling. It goes back to the organizations that are being developed so that women can have a place to tell their stories. And then it goes back to sharing it with the next generation, telling
Mhm.
those, as Cheryl was saying, as a recruiter, going to the schools and talking about what did you do while you were in the military. Growing up, it used to be something mean that someone would say to you, "Your mother wears combat boots." That used to be something that people hated to hear, but it's like my children used to say, "Yes, she did." Okay, and it wasn't funny anymore because that was real. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, it's just knowing that we serve and we count in all aspects of it.
Hey,
Definitely
Kathy.
is what keeps us. Yes, Donna.
Yeah, I want to because you were talking about women telling their stories and other awards that can be given.
Hmm.
So, the Military Women's Memorial, they have a website where you can go and publish your story.
Okay.
And I Am Walk, we've made sure that all of our folks have published their story in I hear some background. I'm sorry. I'm hoping it's not me. But publishing their story at the Women's Memorial. The other thing is, I'm part of a group called Army Women's Foundation, and the Army Women's Foundation actually gives out a Hall of Fame honors to women who have served in the military for women, or they even have women who have served in the Department of Defense, and they support women. And I tell you, it's a true honor to be part of the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame is actually, they put a wall in the military women's memorial
Huh?
of all the awardees for the Hall of Fame. And in order to be nominated for that, anyone can nominate anyone, but they have to have provided service for the betterment of women, the betterment of the military, and by the way, they may have been a first. Now we have a lot of firsts that have happened,
Hmm.
and so I think we're kind of getting, well, hopefully we won't have any firsts. We're still looking for the first president, of course, but I digress. But we, hopefully we won't be celebrating firsts anymore in the future, but we still have a lot of firsts, um, that have women that have been either in a position, gone to war, done all kinds of things in the military. But the Army Women's Hall of or Army Women's Foundation uh, selects approximately up to 10 women every year to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I just want to put that out there. And if anybody wants any information on that, they can contact me, and I can let you know. I can help um, pass the information for that.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. And you mentioned the Military Women's Memorial.
Yes,
So that
yes. The women. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, tell us about the Military Women's Memorial.
Now the women's military memorial is in Arlington. I think it's Arlington, right? Yeah, it's Arlington, Virginia, and it's actually set in the cemetery. Oh my gosh, what is the name of the cemetery? I just drew a blank. Um, the military cemetery in DC.
Arlington National Cemetery.
Which one? Arlington. Yes,
Arlington.
Arlington.
National
Yes,
Yeah.
Cemetery.
Arlington. Yes, but it sets right next to the opening there. And now the Military Women's Memorial is for all women in the military. And you go on their website and you can go in and write your story, and it will be in the books at the women's memorial,
Wow.
the military women's memorial. I hope I'm saying that right. But they every year they have a slew of programs that they have, and they're always celebrating something that has to do with our military women. So that's a place to have your story memorialized
Okay.
forever. There, yes,
Okay. And that is written out or typed out, or is it recorded, or both?
yeah. You have to type. You have to send your story, type it out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think they have testimonials too. I believe. Cheryl, go ahead.
Just to add on with Donna, that's the beauty of our organization. Again, I got to keep bringing it back like a springboard. When that was created, and the historian, took it over and made it happen, she went even further to do it for our veterans. So the ones that have joined our organization, got a lot of people that can't type, a lot of people that just not administratively inclined, and they have a
Mhm.
story. They probably may have never developed it for themselves. Like Donna said, a lot of people are just not self speakers of themselves. So she sits down and will do it for you. And if she has to put it in, then of course it documents her as the inputter. It won't come up with your name. So you do want to encourage people to do it themselves because it has your name as you inputted this information. But that is the
Okay.
beauty. Our organization will put it in there for them if they're a member of our organization.
Okay. And there is a question. Can you update and or revise your story as it continues to be written?
Absolutely.
What was that? Oh,
You
Can you
go
can.
ahead.
You have access to
I
it, so you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could actually go in yourself and
okay.
update your information.
Okay. So that's another place that takes away the excuse, if you will, of having a woman veteran story told. We have a place where we can go and have our story recorded, and it'll be there
Absolutely.
forever.
Right.
And
If you want to
it
take
feels
it even
better.
deeper, when we
Yeah.
first started, we developed the Library of Congress, the young man that runs that, to be able to allow people to really add stuff to tell their story. And they come with a format. You got to have 5 pictures, 30-minute videos. So we were developing within our organization to tag
Hmm.
team with each other to practice telling your story. But as you know, when you record, you can always pause. You can go back to a question, but just getting that going, even though the military women's is perfect, putting it in the Library of Congress kind of seals it globally.
Okay. And I
We're
think
still
so.
working on
I'm aware of that, and I think that they're like I know they were like a year backlogged, or they had a lot of backlog that came out after, or right, actually a little before the
it.
pandemic, COVID. and then the backlog just got a little more. So there are two places that we can put our stories, at least two places. And there are many other organizations that record our stories. And if you're part of an organization, this is for our listening audience, if you're part of an organization that encourages women to record their stories, women veterans, please continue to encourage, because people won't know that we're there unless we let them know that we're there. It's
Wait.
not about waiting to be discovered, but that can happen too. But while we're waiting to be discovered, we can go on and help them out, help them find us. And then when they find us, they'll find some others and have some other, be able to put in some other stories as well.
And
So,
Kathy, I really can't emphasize this enough, because I think because we're in the moment, I don't think that we realize that we are literally in history, making history. Some of the things that we have been doing over the last few months, because remember, from since Iraq, in terms of being in actual combat for a long time, aside from World War II, even with Desert Storm, and it ended so quickly. But to have that war in Afghanistan and on going on for so long, a lot more women have been in combat than really ever before, and currently, because now the whole model is changing, even through COVID. That was the first time in history that the military was activated in CONUS. We've
mm,
never, meaning that we were activated within the United States, the military, to handle a global pandemic that
yes,
we've never lived through. So some of the things that we have done, that we may not realize, is history in the making right now, that we need to capture and document, that we've all been a part of, so that future generations can see the contributions of women and of women of color and what we have done. And so we would be remiss not to continue to share those stories, to speak about
exactly.
those stories, and encourage with pride that women have a place in serving, in not only in the military, but in making changes in the world that we live in, that we have the power to move along agendas, which is what I absolutely love about I Am Walk. I hear Cheryl saying it. I'm so high five with you, that we are going and moving into a dynamic organization that has an agenda that supports a voice in the conversation. Thank you for allowing us to be here, where we
Oh,
want
yes,
to talk about issues with people and answer questions and share, and also engage in meaningful change, because we have to change now and in the future. So I just wanted to kind of say that we have, what we're doing is important. What Donna was talking about, that documenting, we have to encourage that and let people know this is a good thing.
exactly. And I thank you all for being here, for sharing all of that. What are some of the current projects going on with I Am Walk?
Tell me about that beautiful conference we finna do, Donna.
Okay.
The conference.
Yes, the conference.
Well, we are we are planning our second annual conference, um, on from the 9th to the 12th of July, at the Navy Pier in Chicago, and we're going to have a gala too. So the theme of the conference is facing the future together, and we're in the midst of getting. Sorry, my pets are have fighting, but we're in the midst. I don't know if you can hear them. We're in the midst of doing all the planning, and it's going to be educational. It's going to be a workshop. We're going to have fun, and then of course we're going to end it with a gala. But we're looking forward to. We're going to be flooding the information out there. If you go to the website, I Am Walk website, information will be there as soon as we get it all tied down. But it should be coming out about in January, information wise. But 9 to 12 July, mark your calendars if you're available in Chicago.
One of the exciting projects that I am honored honored to do. So I Am Walk doesn't only we our mission is out in the community. We also mentor within our own organization and support one another. So even though I'm out of the military, I'm working on my doctorate in health administration, and I'm doing a study with the women of I Am Walk. Actually, mental health is a passion for me, and talking to them about their life story and documenting that to publish later on in documented reading about these extraordinary women of I Am Walk. So that's a message that women, we're trying to document our own stories like Donna was talking about, learning a lot from talking to these powerful women and their experiences, and doing this phenomenological study of the women of I Am Walk, and them being able to tell their story as they experienced it. So that has been phenomenal. I can't wait at some point to publish that. And it's specifically the women of I Am Walk, so that we can capture the richness of all these different women. So that's one of the projects that we're working on as well. And I'm with the think tank. So that is one of we have quite a few committees and some exciting committees, military affairs. We have all kinds of things and fundraising. And we're a new, even though we're a new organization, we're moving forward. And it's exciting to be at what I call the ground floor. We're breaking the seal. I know we're going to do great things. We're looking to partner and be a part with other people. So we're excited about that. And we're trying to develop our core of the organization and our core communication, and like Cheryl was saying, how we're bringing people in and how we're mentoring people. So we're working through all of those different challenges, and together as a community, and but they've got some dynamic, very smart women and men. So I think that we're charting the course for, and we're laying the foundation for not only now but the future.
Okay. So, question, is the study open to other women?
So this particular study is open to, at this particular study I'm doing is military women. They don't have to be deployed, but I'm interested in what their experience has been, so that they can share any mental health or challenge that they had. It could just like we talked about tonight, be it if it was gender discrimination or whatever it was, or anything, barriers that they may have had, to see how they navigated that. So that's
Mm.
really the focus of that particular study, and to kind of get their point of view. How did you get through that, and how it made them feel, and what type of support or access that they had as they were moving through those challenges. So that's what I'm trying to document.
Okay. Okay. So,
Yeah.
as we're coming to a close, how can we as a community, as first of all, the community at large, secondly, the
Mhm.
veteran community, and third, women veterans, because we got to get
Yeah.
all of them in there. How can we support I Am Walk?
Oh, nice.
Community efforts, just out there in the community doing whatever it is that you do and you like to do. And I wish our membership person was on, because we started off with our membership being ran, and then one of our males took over, and then it transferred over to one of the female leaders. Let me just start off by saying every person that puts in an application and gets approved to be a part of this wonderful organization is a trailblazer. And all of these women already trailblazers in their own rights. As Donna said earlier, they're either first or, just brilliant with beyond demand within the different MOSs and different services that they do. So
Hmm.
coming together and being a part of I Am WAP is going to be phenomenal for anybody. And having a seat at the table and being able to be a part of coming together virtually. We're talking globally all over. So when we have the opportunity, as Donna said, with the conference, we did this 2 years ago when we did the conference in Atlanta. And being able to meet these ladies, the ones that were able to attend for the first time, just gave you a better sense of aura on things that they were dealing with. Now remember, Donna Glanton told you about mental health, things that she's working on. We haven't had the opportunity to grab her personally and put our arm around her, where I haven't. But I think just being able to take that information, using it as we develop our next conference, and being able to grab onto the Road Home program, which is out of Chicago. So we actually
Mm-hmm.
have the Road Home program that is allowing one of our people to come and actually be a person that tests that out and be able to tell us the things that they're experiencing. So that's something that everybody could use, even people that's going through stuff as caregivers, because caregivers deal with a whole lot. So educating them in disability, caregiving, mental health, your Medicare, your Library of Congress, and just learning how to be a trailblazer like Donna Block and Colonel Glanton and Earl Woodhouse and Pamela Wilson and Juanita and yourself. You know, we learn from each other. And on the internal side, you know, as sisters, there ain't always a smooth sailing. So we know how to come together and bring the calmness down when we get hyped up, even by each other. So having these different women and these different personalities help blend and bring down the calmness in whatever we're trying to get when we're trying to work through our things. So I just love it.
Right.
And you know, Kathy, I love that question and the way Cheryl, she's just eloquently stated that. I tell people at this point, find if you how can you support I Am Walk? And I would say first decide, find out about who we are and have a passion for what we're doing or an interest in what we're doing. Because I think what's important is not just having an organization, but doing something meaningful that's bigger than yourself and sharing and developing. And we love this. Like I said, we're three different generations right now. We need each generation, we need the younger individuals because of technology and future. We all need to come together. We're setting the foundation, but we're like the guard, you know, we're laying foundations. I'm 64. So, I mean, I'm not going to be doing for forever, but I want to get those young people in there. And because we need to be able to give a handoff. But we're definitely, like Cheryl's saying, we're trailblazing. We're about the business, which we're right now locking it down. We're strong women, and it's like I would say in the military, this is a no-fail mission. So we're going to execute. We're going to get it done. So that's what we know we're bringing to the situation. But we're laying a path, but we need to lay a path with other participants that are going to take it into the future. And that's what Donna's talking about when we're talking about the things that we're trying to put together to showcase and to message who we are. And that's a collective effort, and the community involvement is what can help us to do that.
All right. All right. So one of the things that was said was find out about I Am Walk. How do we find out about you? Where do we go? What's your website?
IamWalk.com. Go ahead, Cheryl.
www, read it,
Yeah,
iamwalk.org.
Dot
And they
org.
org,
can fill out
org.
the, yes ma'am, then you can fill out the little application. It'll go straight to our membership person, and then they'll get in touch with them and start the process.
Okay.
And
That's-
as you mentioned, committees, I'm on the membership committee, I'm on the think tank committee, so we're all over the place. You may find us in
Okay.
one spot, then you may find us in another. And if you come to get the fitness on, you're going to find me on the dance floor, stretching you out and get your body right.
Awesome. So we can go to
And yes,
iamwalk.org and find out about
and
the organization. Uh-huh.
that's
Leslie?
right. And Kathy, just to be clear, and I'm being very transparent, we are a relatively new organization. So we are at the beginning. I call it phase. You know, it takes like even a business the first to 5 years. So
Yeah.
we're in that right in that first phase where we're 3 or 4 years getting going. So when you come into IMWAP, be prepared. You know, you're rolling your sleeves up. You know, and you're participating. We are setting the foundation for the things that need to be done, but we're growing up. So you're not coming into an organization that's 20, 30 years old and is established. We're establishing
Mhm.
what the future looks like. So that's what's exciting, especially for young people coming in where their ideas and their passions and their thinking and all, like I said, we're on the think tank. So I love the think tank because I know going into the new year, we want to think about what we're thinking about, you know, and how can we get this done? How can we move the agenda? So this is where it's exciting for people to try to say like, hey, yeah, I always wanted to be a part of how we're voting, how we're getting the message out to the homeless veterans, or what are some of the things that we can do? How are we going to fundraise? How are we going to bring people in? That's the energy that we love and we're looking for, because we're movers. We're not shakers. We're
Mhm.
trying to get something done.
Wonderful,
So that's what I
wonderful,
would tell someone. If you want to get something
wonderful.
done, come on, let's do it.
Cheryl?
I'm gonna make one. You just gonna have us keep going on, and we keep having this conversation. So we like that beach ball that keep bouncing off of each other. I just had to say one of the concepts came up about being bitter better, and that's a perfect concept for our organization, because you go through the bitterness, whether it's family, the organization, or anything, but you work every day to make it better. And my colonel made a comment one time to say, "Get better every day," and it related to that mental health thing. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, this place right here in I Am WAP has the opportunity to continue to have several seats at the table. And if you can't get a seat, bring a chair. Just don't swing it. You know what I mean? Bring a chair and stay the course, because we constantly are going to continue to evolve. And I think this organization of ladies,
Exactly.
having the top leaders from the finance corps, from the AG, Sergeant Major of the Army once before, like we have the Sergeant Major Morset, the Finance Leadership Award. All of these key leaders are in this organization. So you want to ask the question, what makes your organization different from anybody else's? Ours is totally different. Number one, we got the top leaders that served during our generation and understand the process, as well as leaders that served before us. And we also have trailblazers that are first and run the course, and we are not afraid to have a seat at the table. As my brother, who's an advisor, he's also officially Young James Brown, so he connects us to all the entertainment. He got us a
Uh-huh.
seat at the table with all of the mayors across the world. So the city of the mayors
Wow.
are part of, we made a seat at their table, and we're going to continue to plant seats at everybody's table at their legacy.
Wonderful, wonderful. My last question, and then we're going to close out with this last question.
Okay,
As
okay.
trailblazers, as women veterans, as leaders in your own right, what would you tell that woman veteran, or what would you tell that woman who is about to join the military? What would you say to her as in terms of encouragement or advice? What would you tell that young lady that comes to you and says, I want to join the military? What do I need to do? What would you tell her? Oh, you want me to
I'll
pick?
start up.
Okay,
No, I
Donna.
was. um, if I had someone who came to me and told me that they wanted to join the military, um, preferably I'd like the army, but it's okay. uh, but what I would tell them is go in with an open mind. Understand that they are joining an elite group, a new society, if you will, a new culture, and be open to everything that they can get out of it. Um, be themselves, be confident, make sure that they love themselves first, because they can't love anybody else or help anybody else unless they take care of themselves first. Um, and just have fun. See, a lot of people think that, everything's so serious. But you have to enjoy life. And being in the military, I loved it. Now, I'm not going to lie, there were some challenges. We all have challenges. We have challenges in life. But what do you do to overcome those challenges is the question. But I would tell them, I would encourage them and tell them stay motivated, keep an open mind, and just have fun with it.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to
Leslie.
go, Cheryl? Oh, okay. Wow. I would be ecstatic because I have recruited quite a few people to the military, including my children. But I love the military, and what I would tell them is, for I would encourage them and I would tell them my story, because usually people that are talking to me are much younger and they're thinking, is it too late? And I say, it's never too late. If you can go in at 40, you can definitely go in at 18, 20, 30, whatever it is. I would tell them that to get a good advisor to see which service they want, I would want to help mentor them, go with them, encourage them. But I would tell them to get ready for the most exciting thing that they could ever do. I lived all over it. I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Germany. These are places I would have never gone. I lived in Louisiana. It changed my life. It changed my family. And I love what Cheryl said. These are some of the best friends that not only my children have, but I have are all military. And it is a very dynamic family that you get to be a part of. I've gone deployed and I saw people I know. So we all come together in this really magical way where we are literally one, supporting one another because we're all in the same situation. And that is what's so powerful about the military and in terms of community. So you can find a community within the larger military, but then it's also smaller pockets of community within whatever area you're in and the people that you meet. So I would be highly excited for them and feel as though this is a great opportunity for them to change the direction of their life. Even if they went in for 4 years, it changes the direction of your life. You can get housing afterwards. You can go to school afterwards. You can get government job. There's so many different benefits, and I would name all of them for them to kind of help us see all the opportunities for them. So that's what I would tell someone, and I'd be clapping and cheering them all the way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Cheryl, what would you tell her?
Let me just say what I tell them, because I still doing it as we speak. First thing I ask them is, what's your passion? That's the first thing. You got to
Hmm.
know their passion so that you could guide them into the over the 250 MOSs that we have. You don't want a person going in doing what
Yeah.
their mother did or doing what their
Mhm.
dad did, because you might not be happy. And then we're going to eventually coach you with, just go ahead and take this MOS. But you always want to encourage them to do their passion. Once they tell me what their passion is, that's when I take them through the story.
Hmm.
Because most of their
Hmm.
passions is gonna always be computers, because this is what they do while they talking to you. They don't even look up at you. So I'll ask them, is that what you like doing? Why don't you go into technology? Why don't you be
Yeah.
information management? Or why don't you just be
Hmm.
personnel, what I do, until you figure out what you can do? Because then you can reclassify and go into another job. So passion,
All right.
speak up, communicate, stay transparent, and respect your elders. Period.
Wonderful, wonderful. I thank you, ladies, so much
Thank you so
for such
much.
great conversation this evening. I want to post this because, again, I asked earlier, what can we do to support I Am Walk? Giving, making a donation. On Tuesday, December 3rd is Giving Tuesday. It follows Thanksgiving. We're thankful for
Yeah.
giving, and now we want to give something to support someone else. If you're in our listening audience and you want to give, and if you don't make it on the 3rd, you can give whenever you like to give. You can go to www.imwalk.org/donate, and you can make a donation of whatever amount you can, and it will definitely be appreciated because as we've heard on this evening, this is the first phase, the beginning phase of this great organization coming to fruition. And I just look forward to what's going to happen in the next few years and just excited about this organization. And I definitely would love to have you all come back again and talk some more about because we have so much more to cover, but we can talk forever. When we start telling our stories, we can talk forever. But
Yeah.
we want to we want to let you all know that greatly appreciated what you have shared with us on this evening. I'm appreciative of you coming on and wanting to share with me and those who are listening. And of course, thank Juanita Dopelmore for being part of the arrangement of this and just excited for all of you. And so as we close out on today, remember everyone, IamWalk.org, the International Association of Military Women of Color. Tell somebody about your story. Let women veterans know that they matter because they served and to continue to lift each other up. Thank you all so
Mhm.
very much. I am Dr. Kathy Cash, the host of the Veterans Wire, and may you all be blessed and continue in your service. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.